Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the EGFH Season 1, Week 1 League of Legends Tournament. If you missed it, we had an amazing match between Stonington and Whaler Esports. A nice victory came through by Whaler Esports in a hard-fought match that went to late game. Really well played by Stonington as well, though. And now we're getting into a match between Pioneers and the Green Knights. I'm Superman, and casting alongside me this afternoon is Hans.
Yeah, and we're going right into the pick and ban phase here. We've got bans for Nasus and Cho'Gath already coming through. A lot of top lane focus already, which is quite unexpected. We saw a lot of top lane focus last game in the pick and ban. What do you think about this?
Well, it would be curious to note whether or not these teams paid attention to the last match. It was streamed, of course, so that there's a possibility they could have been tuning in, paying attention to some of the pick ban. But I think these top lanes, pretty standard bans. The Nasus is a little less popular, but it has come through even in pro play in terms of top lane bruiser. Cho'Gath, of course, extremely strong, but there doesn't seem to be as much rhyme or reason to the second round of bans here, though I do agree with getting rid of Tristana anyway. Like, you don't want to play against that champion, so if you're not blue side, you can't first pick it, definitely get rid of it.
Yeah, and another powerful, impactful ban coming out from the Green Knights here on the red side, banning the Sejuani away from the Pioneers here. I like this Xayah pickup. Xayah is dealing a lot of damage last game, actually the most damage dealt last game, even though Stonington lost that previous game. We also see the bans for Darius and Ryze. Darius definitely being one of not really a meta pick lately.
Yeah, but it can be very, very scary, right? You know, nobody likes to play against a Darius in the top lane. You're always scared that somehow, in some way, shape, or form, you're going to get dunked, and that never feels good. And nobody wants to play against a reset champion anyway, especially one that can just chase you down like a Darius. The Ryze, I'm not sure about that one, but Nami picked up in the first rotation here for red side. The Green Knights might be looking for that standard composition, but an early lock-in of the Riven? Yeah, it's going to be locked in. Blind pick Riven for the top lane.
Yeah, and apparently they were paying attention a little bit to last game, picking up Nami on this red side. And interesting, Taric also coming through on the side of the Pioneers, meaning that there is going to be no shield champions this game. Nami obviously going to be able to abuse that Ardent Sensor. Vi also coming through on the Pioneers side, being able to help pick out some of these squishy champions, since they have been picking some squishy champions, especially Riven. That means they might not have much of a tank line if they're going to not pick a tanky jungler.
I do like this Taric pickup. We've seen his with the build into healed shield items like Redemption, like Ardent Sensor. You're not going to see him have the health enough to stack a significant buff to his W that gives a small shield to his paired up target. So that's not going to make a huge difference, but I do like the combo of Taric and Vi. Vi uses that ultimate, the Assaulted Battery takes her way back and way into the enemy team to pick off a target. And that can be really scary, because if you're not super ahead as Vi, then you can just get turned on and picked off, right? But if you have a Taric who can just press R, then you'll be invulnerable after showing up in the back line, and you can really put down a lot of pressure by using those two ultimates together. So I like that synergy there. But the Jinx gets picked up. We haven't seen much of this champion in competitive play. What do you think of that choice along with the Nami?
Jinx is able to shred down turrets really fast. Also another late game threat, like we saw earlier with the Twitch. Looks like both teams are a little bit afraid of assassins, banning away the Zed and Rengar here in this ban phase. Also wanting to remove some initiation from the Green Knights here on the blue side, taking away that Malphite.
Yeah, there must be some sort of a scouting potential that chose to get rid of that Malphite. Unless, of course, Riven just hates playing against that champion. It is one of the stronger choices against a Riven. But initiation already there, I think, with the Vi pick. So we'll have to see how the rest of the draft goes. The last few bans do come through. Syndra banned away. Perhaps they were watching and saw how annoying it can be to pick off a Syndra that still ends up killing you as they die with an unleashed power. That's never a great feeling. So Rammus locked in, though. Going to be the jungler for Green Knights.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see a Fiora being locked in after the Rammus is picked. Rammus being able to taunt up against this Fiora or this Xayah, and being able to provide a lot of engage for this team. Looks like Pioneers are going to be hovering a Xerath here, which is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah. Blue side here, the Xayah Taric in the bottom lane, having Vi in the jungle, they definitely have the initiation tools they need, as well as follow-up damage. Orianna, always a great champion, scales well into late game, and the Xayah does as well, of course. And Taric will be able to keep mitigating the, shall I say, downsides to their composition, that super run at you heavy type composition with the Fiora, with the Vi. With the Taric, even, you have to get in there and get down and dirty to get team fights that actually go your way. Otherwise, you can just get chased down by a Jinx that gets reset, by a Nami wave, right? So you have to actually take fights that are on your terms. So I like the Taric pick in association with the other ones that have come through for Pioneers on blue side. But there's a lot of damage and a lot of kite potential, far more CC on the side of Green Knights than there is for Pioneers. So red team with a little bit of an advantage in that regard.
Yeah, definitely think that the red side here, the Pioneers, they're a little shaky. They have some odd champion picks in this lineup, like Riven, like the Rammus, like the Xerath. They're definitely going to be relying on the Rammus here to engage, and possibly even having to have this Riven snowball into the mid to late game, since Xerath and Jinx need to kind of hit that late game point to be very useful.
Yeah, for sure. The Xayah we saw do so much damage, so much work really last game, even though it didn't end up being on the side of the winning team, just doing the most damage to champions by a significant margin. And so in the end, they're not quite enough. The Orianna plus Vi combo can be really strong, but early game, I think there's a lot more damage that can come through, a lot earlier burst potential from ganks from like a Vi, far more than just a Rammus coming in to taunt someone. I think Rammus gank potential early, while scary with that taunt, relies on his laners being able to poke people down so that they're low enough to actually die to a Rammus gank. Otherwise, Rammus, because his clear is so much slower than Vi's, then he can fall behind if he puts too much time into gank paths early.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see this top lane matchup between the Fiora and Riven. Want to see who comes out on top here. Fiora definitely having a lot of counterplay against this Riven, being able to parry a lot of her CC that's going to be coming out in the form of her stun and her knockup.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a skill matchup up there where both players have to play around very key cooldowns. The riposte from the Fiora, and then of course Riven has a couple different forms of CC, a knockup, a stun, and if Riven can play around Fiora's riposte, then she should be able to bully her out, as long as there's not unlucky RNG when it comes to the vitals for that Fiora passive. That can be a real annoying thing if you're playing in the top lane and you end up playing against a Fiora and it just feels like every vital proc is just in the perfect spot for her to proc. It's unfortunate, but definitely a skill matchup up there. I'm excited to see that 1v1. It can definitely snowball out of control in either way, so we'll have to see how that turns out.
Yeah, it's a little hard to see right now. I'm not sure which summoner spell Xerath is picked up here, but Orianna choosing to pick up this teleport to influence that map a little more. Definitely wanted to see the team play coming out of the Green Knights on the blue side here.
Yeah, Green Knights drafting themselves a hard engage composition, whereas there's a little bit more kite and fight and split sort of ability on red side here. Pioneers, their composition likes to separate the fight into small skirmishes. If Xerath can just stay way back and throw skill shots where he sees them most valuable, the Rammus can separate team fights, the Jinx can get resets to then chase people down afterwards. That's the kind of fight they want to do, with Nami just keeping people alive throughout. But if the Green Knights can get the picks that they really like to go for, with the Vi ultimate, with Orianna being comboed on top of there, then they can keep things tight. They can keep team fights in a small space, letting Xayah deal basically AoE damage with her kit, and then of course Fiora can chase people down. And Fiora, I like the pick of the Fiora, especially considering the Rammus, because if Rammus can just keep stacking armor, he becomes very scary. But Fiora can deal true damage based on scaling health, so she kind of answers the Rammus in that regard, especially with the riposte to stop the taunt.
Yeah, looks like we're now loading into this game. Um, an interesting pickup of barrier for the Xerath against this Orianna, fearing the kill pressure off of the command shockwave from Orianna.
Yeah, either the heal or the barrier are good choices there. You don't want to get bursted out by like 100-0. Level 6 for Vi and Orianna can definitely chase down and easily burst out non-mobile champion like Xerath, who can't really dodge out the Vi Q without using flash. So flash down, you're kind of dead meat without like an hourglass or something. So the barrier can help mitigate that sort of thing. But I expect to see you know what? Actually, I think it's more of a skill matchup as well in this mid lane. Whoever can land their skill shots, whoever can push the wave faster. If Xerath tries to only focus on the wave, he might run out of mana and not be able to trade with the Orianna. But if he focuses his skill shots on the Orianna, then he might not actually be able to push the wave. So kind of a trade-off. You have to decide how you want to use those spells. But here we are, loaded onto Summoner's Rift. This is Season 1, Week 1 of EGFH's League of Legends tournament. This is Green Knights on blue side versus Pioneers on red. This is the second game. We had an amazing one earlier on stream, but thanks for tuning in. If you're just joining us, my name is Superman, and casting alongside me is Hans. We're going to have a great game.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, there's a lot of immobility from the Xerath here, and even from the bot side for Jinx and Nami. I would like to see this Vi play on the bot side jungle a lot more.
Yeah, if she can get early... You get that leash from your bottom lane, it can set you up to very quickly clear your camps. Vi with red buff is extremely scary. I actually prefer to see Vi start in the top side, even though it slows her gank, her clear times up. It slows it down a little bit. It actually helps her ganks in the long run because you have a longer uptime with the red buff versus using it to farm. So I'd rather see Vi starting on like blue buff with a small leash from a solo laner, likely the Fiora, and then playing into that bottom side, like you mentioned, with a red buff barely being picked up. So she has a lot more gank potential for a lot longer of a duration. Otherwise, you're just stuck farming with your red buff, and you only have about 45 seconds to a minute of it remaining by the time you're ready to actually gank some people. It's mostly that blue buff that gives you CDR to do that, and that's really not as scary on someone like a Vi, because if you don't land that Q, if you don't land the Vault Breaker, then you're not going to actually CC anyone if you don't have red buff.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And if she picks up blue buff first, then she's able to transition towards that bot side and pick either mid lane or bot lane to gank. We have some pretty interesting level 1s here for both teams. Rammus choosing to start on top side, which means that the junglers are going to kind of flip-flop against each other, ending up on opposite sides of the map after they finish their first clears.
Yeah, that's kind of cool that get a miniature leash there from the Xerath, helping that Rammus start out. And question mark pinks come through from side of the Pioneer. They're looking to see where the bottom lane was. They likely know that the red buff was leashed, but there's less information given, perhaps, depending on the interpretation, less information given to Green Knights on blue side about whether or not Rammus started on the bottom side. Red team did show up in the bottom lane much faster, so it's safe to assume that they did not leash, but that doesn't mean you know precisely where Rammus started. Without invading early to get some wards in, you're not going to have that information, so Rammus kind of in a better position in terms of his ambiguity of his jungle pathing for his early ganks. Just barely now picking up that red buff.
Yeah, and Vi's gonna be able to hit lane a lot faster since Rammus has a slower jungle clear. Vi choosing to pick up 4 camps before she even starts to gank. Probably gonna perhaps go towards this mid lane since Fiora is pushing this Riven really well into her tower.
Yeah, it's you can't really dive that Riven unless she gets extremely low, and even then it's very, very scary to try that sort of thing this early in the match. So, as you did mention, this is going to be the 4th camp taken by the Vi in her own jungle. This is going to be the double buffs for her. Well, Rammus is just finishing up his blue buff. He did not take the additional wolves, so in the time that Vi was able to complete 4 camps, Rammus only with 3. There's a nice ward in the river for blue team. Could see that Rammus if he gets any closer, but it looks like he's just going for that scuttle.
Yeah, and big thing to note here that Rammus actually popped his potion stacks way before Vi did, meaning that he actually needs to sustain a lot more even though he has higher armor. Vi going to be able to easily clear out these jungle camps and starting to invade, putting a ward into that topside jungle.
That's really good. He's going to know that the Rammus is not topside, so even if Rammus wasn't seen by that ward down there in the bottom end of the river, then they'll have a general idea of at least where the nice knockoff here comes from NBA Simulator. But there I was talking about it earlier. No red buff remaining in terms of duration on this Vi, so you land the Vault Breaker, it's a little bit of damage, but other than that, zero help given to this Orianna in the mid lane.
Yeah, and a nice ward by the Pioneers over this mid lane wall, being able to spot Vi actually walks back into her jungle.
Yeah, and they ping it out actually saying, hey, we did see actually the Riven, this ward does a lot for us. So nice stun down onto the Jinx, gets rooted as well. The Xayah puts down a lot of pain, 150 health, 100 health, 90. The heal comes through from this Jinx, the exhaust as well. So that's going to be a couple summoner spells lost on the bottom side of this map. Xayah and this Tark, they're putting a lot of pressure, now approaching the turret with a nice cannon wave, as Vi is not in a position to help them out.
Yeah, and a good consistent warding from the Green Knights here into the river, being able to potentially spot out that Rammus as they continue pushing.
So Jinx gonna have to farm underneath the turret, of course. She's going to slowly but surely life steal back up, using that Doran's Blade to its fullest potential. Staying healthy underneath the turret, the Nami helping her with that as well. But 39 to 28 as the wave crashes against the turret, and you're seeing that Jinx struggled to even get a couple of CS, only actually getting one of all of those casters that showed up to the turret. That was a lot of damage coming through in the top lane, though. Fiora bullying out this Riven incredibly hard. If we're looking at CS numbers across the board, other than mid lane, which is relatively close anyway, top lane, bottom lane, these are massive CS leads already, considering it's only 5.5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, a 20 CS lead up in the top lane, going towards the Fiora. Definitely putting the pressure onto Riven. If Riven doesn't get a gank soon, it looks like Fiora is going to be able to suppress this Riven pretty well for the rest of the game.
And that's really important, especially because Riven can bully the... because Fiora can bully the Riven the later the game goes as well. With that riposte, with the lifesteal that builds, both of them building relatively normal items. Oh, the same thing. It looks like Deja Vu. The stun doesn't hit for NBA Simulator. Barrier comes through, but doesn't actually block much damage. She's going to make it underneath this turret, though, to stay safe. Nice root in this bottom lane. Comes on the Nami, forces the flash away. Nami's flash blown. Xerath's flash blown. There's a lot of summoner spells down across the map. This Vi has done a lot of work in mid lane, and bottom lane is just winning this 2v2 straight up.
Yeah, definitely. Well played on this blue side for the Green Knights. I feel like Riven's gonna definitely need some attention from Rammus soon. Riven, I feel like she's a champion that really needs to snowball into the mid to late game in order to be effective.
Yeah, she definitely needs that help from the jungler. If she doesn't get that kind of assistance, then she'll just fall further and further behind if nothing else changes. And it doesn't seem like there's any reason to believe that it would change at this point, so you have to be extremely skeptical of Riven's ability to hold her own without jungle help. But this Jinx now almost getting doubled in CS. This is a huge problem for Pioneer.
Yeah, it looks like Vi's trying to pick up this Scuttle Crab here, trying to start setting up for this Dragon on the bot side.
And it is an Ocean Drake, which can be really, really good for our laning phase. Maybe they can take these trades. Teleport into mid lane means that they'll have a little bit of a path, forcing the Xerath to back off, meaning he can't exactly poke. But there's a 4v3 of sorts in that river if they were to choke on it, but they actually won't. Vi gonna kind of invade, takes that Scrying Orb to see the vision, but this Fiora has so much pressure in the top lane, there's really nothing that this Riven can do. If she teleports away, if this Riven teleports away to try and contest that Dragon, the Riven, then the Fiora is just gonna take that turret likely. You know, she can actually crit this. Nice stun in the mid lane. NBA Simulator getting pressured down. His flash is down. There is a little bit more damage. Poor guy's just getting bullied out. And that's going to be first blood. Orianna with the flash command attack shockwave. 400 gold in her pocket.
Yeah, and this Fiora's been doing a really good job of suppressing this Riven. Riven hasn't even backed yet, still only with the longsword in her lane.
Yeah, you got to feel for Zakai's here on that Riven, just getting bullied out, down 23 CS, underneath its own turret, very low, no potions, nothing more to speak of. and that will actually give him any sort of breathing room. The dragon is going to be secured, and that's going to make it even harder here in the top lane especially, meaning even if Riven does want to go for some of those trades with the Fiora, then Fiora will just heal it right back up even before completing lifesteal items. Really just unbearable.
A great pickup on this Ocean Drake for the blue side and Green Knights here. Looks like another Ocean Drake's going to be spawning next, so they'll be able to take this healing snowball and perhaps even extend it further.
Yeah, the Xerath putting a couple words in the river, making sure that he can stay a little bit safer. His flash is still down for about another 2 minutes, and he has to be really, really careful. Assault and Battery has about a 2.5 minute cooldown at level 1 without additional CDR, meaning there's still a window for Vi to just bully this player out. But down here in the bottom lane, nice root comes down onto the Rammus. Oh, excuse me, he walks over it. The taunt doesn't actually come through. There's the Tark ultimate, stops some damage, no root available. Assault and Battery comes through right onto the Nami. Not sure about the choice there, but here's some damage from the Xerath on the backside. Flash through from the Rammus, nice body block on the Jinx ultimate. A couple more autos would do it. Flash is through, triple kill for the Xayah. Will she live? NBA Simulator on the backside, try to put out the pain to try and answer some of this damage. But overall, it's a 4-0 in favor of the Green Knights. On top of already getting the Dragon first blood on that Orianna, now there's a 3-0 Xayah. Gonna base for the first time, 87 CS, 3 kills, going back to spend 4,100 gold on whatever she darn well pleases, and a 2-0 Orianna in the mid lane. This spells trouble for the Pioneers.
Yeah, and on the back of that, the Green Knights were able to take the blue buff away from the Pioneers here, being able to deny that Xerath further, because he really does need that blue buff to be able to spam his spells at a long range. Xayah being able to pick up this Essence Reaver way ahead of this Jinx, now basically a half an item ahead against that Jinx's BF sword.
Yeah, having a 1,600 gold lead is just massive this early on just the 80 carry alone.
Definitely. And on the top side, we still see Fiora continuing to suppress this Riven, increasing that CS lead to a 44 CS lead from the earlier 20. Fiora's definitely going to be able to back and get almost a whole item here.
Yeah, more than doubling her lane opponent. Even though it's been relatively quiet in terms of kills in that top lane, we haven't seen junglers show up on either side. This Fiora just slowly and very surely creating a lead for herself.
Yeah, an interesting pickup of the Raptor Cloak for this Nami here, not going towards the Ardent Sensor as her first item.
It looks like she might be just rushing that Nomad's Medallion, rushing that right into Ancient Coin to give a little bit of more of that movement speed first. Perhaps to reposition this Rammus as quickly as possible in these fights to pick off a priority target. Speaking of Rammus trying to pick off a target, he might be the one that gets picked off. He's going to have to powerball away. Vision, once again, secured across the map. Look at the map. It's littered with wards from the Green Knights. Everything from pinks to trinkets. They have full control from top to bottom.
Yeah, a huge gold lead here for the Green Knights, having a 4K gold lead this early and starting the Rift Herald.
Yeah, it is a 3v3 up there. Down here in this bottom lane, we've got Pioneer pushed in once again, still falling behind in CS, about a 30 lead now, and it looks like the Rift Herald will be secured. That ward likely not giving enough vision. Oh, Riven jumps over the wall, forces the flash. The Riven showing up over the wall, perhaps thinking she might get a steal, a lucky steal on the Herald, but immediately flashes away, thinking, nope, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, it looks like the Pioneers are definitely not used to this aggression coming from the Green Knights. They were 3-man positioned behind that Baron wall and not able to do anything besides lose a flash there.
Yeah, it would have been much better had they just chosen, if they're not going to contest it, just push the lanes out. Try and get a little bit more CS for yourselves while you're not getting bullied by a lane opponent. Speaking of maintaining a CS advantage, the top lane, that bottom lane, going heavily in favor of Green Knights, but at least the Xerath is staying relatively close in farm numbers with the Orianna that's 2-0.
Yeah, still great lane advantage for all the Green Knights here on the blue side.
Yeah, every single member across the board for Green Knights is up in gold, including the support, up in gold over that of his opponent. The mirror matchups just unfortunately far in favor of Green Knights. We'll have to see how they pressure this advantage. Nice stun onto the Jinx. Gets a little bit more poke. Turret tower shot tanked away by this Tarek. He's doing really well, landing a couple of different stuns here that deal enough damage to create problems here. In the top lane, nice knockup. Actually puts a stun down, but that means you'll get taunted up, reducing the armor. Nice flash away from the Fiora to save her own life. Don't want to be the first one to fall for your team.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that gank for Rammus could have come much earlier. Now Fiora having a 58 CS advantage in the top lane and being able to potentially teleport back to her lane to continue leveraging that CS advantage.
And a nice Flame Chompers into bubble brings Tark down to half health here in this bottom lane, but less than half health would be that of Pioneer's first turret that they're just trying to hold on to. They're hugging it, they're trying to stay safe, but nice root onto the Nami. That's a stun and a phase on this Xayah, not able to actually step far out enough to follow up the damage, but they've got a wave here, and with Flame Chompers and the bubble down, they might want to consider taking that turret. They don't, because the Ocean Drake is a backup.
Yeah. It looks like they actually may be positioning it to dive the spot lane turret here, actually.
Yeah, it could be a 4-man dive. Orianna does have ultimate available. Assault and Battery is available. There's the ball put onto Orianna first. Oh my goodness, there's so much damage. If the ball can be reset, there's going to be Assault and Battery onto the Jinx. It's not quite enough as she flashes away. Jinx still alive. Flash and heal used. She might go for an execute or trying to give the kill over the Tark, but that Nami fell instantly. Nice flash over the wall. Definitely going to give the kill credit to this Tark.
Yeah, and now Green Knights here are able to kind of fall back off of that first turret advantage and also take another Ocean Drake, getting 2 Drakes now.
Yeah, this is just a complete shutout at this point. It's really, really hard for this team here, Pioneers, to try and bring it back. Umbrisk, the jungler, Rammus forced to flash away, and that flash taunt is one of their main forms of engage, especially going all in with that Nami building the talisman. So yeah. Ancient Coin not going to do enough if you can't even survive the first bit of damage as a Rammus.
Yeah, and with this Rift Herald almost expiring, what do you think about the top laner picking up the Rift Herald instead of the Vi here?
I do like it because Riven is able to wave clear relatively well, especially if she can get a Tiamat to match the Tiamat of Fiora, then it's a good choice to use the Herald. I was going to say top lane, but mid lane is a great place to break it. If they can take mid lane turret away from a Xerath, away from a wave clear champion like that, that's a really strong move. Here's the Herald going to show up. Vi actually really, really low. If the Xerath could get... Oh my goodness, okay, so the heal is used. There's just a lot of different attacks. There's the Jinx, ult comes through, doesn't actually deal enough damage because it hits the Orianna instead of a priority target that was already low. But that's going to be the mid lane turret falling.
Yeah, and that scrappy fight along with the Rift Herald forced the Riven to use her teleport on that mid lane turret. So now the blue side's going to have a teleport advantage with that Orianna holding teleport.
Yeah, and we should see the CS advantage in the top lane growing and growing and growing since it's still quote-unquote laning phase until one of those turrets falls. That just 1v1 matchup is just so brutally in favor of this Fiora right now. More than doubling the CS numbers of Zakhai's here on this Riven. The Black Cleaver was completed, meaning she might be able to take some trades that are extended, but extended trades actually won't do much against a team that has double Ocean Drake already secured by 17 minutes.
Yeah, I probably would have liked to see this Riven pick up like something more along the lines of a Tiamat, also to counter the Tiamat of Fiora. There's so much pushing power from this Fiora. Riven's gonna constantly have to farm under her turret and lose CS.
Yeah, and just losing CS she is, not even getting the last hits that are underneath her turret right now. As there's 3 members approaching the top side, there was no vision close enough in the pathing for Pioneers to actually see what's happening here in the top lane. You see Assault and Battery plus the Orianna Command Shockwave combo is just so incredibly potent. And now it looks like even 5 members might be looking to dive this top lane. If they're not getting this turret, they're definitely getting the Riven. A nice stun. That's a good knockup, but there's going to be healing coming through. Vi just says, I'll tank that turret, we'll just take it down. So there's a kill plus a turret. That's all outer turrets now secured in favor of Green Knights, bringing this gold lead to 8,000. Only 18 minutes in, and they're on this second turret.
Yeah, being able to transition this 5-stack into the tier 2 turret, breaking out to a fight again.
Yeah, Yeah, and with that cannon wave there, they're just going to still take that down. The slow comes down onto Umbrisk, and there's going to be the last proc going down. They have a small wave here, but Xerath is still alive. He has the damage to at least wave clear. But do they have enough damage to actually take down his turret? They might, as a new wave approaches. Turret down to already half. We're not even 20 minutes in, and they've broken the base.
Yeah, it looks like they might even pop this inhibitor with this Jinx still staying in the bot lane. Yeah, sorry about that. I definitely think that the Jinx should have recalled with this Nami. Now losing an inhibitor at 19 minutes into the game. Definitely looks like a really, really good advantage for the Green Knights as they continue to snowball this game out of control.
Yeah, it's extremely potent to get that early inhibitor, though the inhibitor being down will funnel slightly more gold and slightly more experience into the Pioneers' hands just by nature of it pushing the wave without a champion there. There will be a problem here for Pioneers that in 30 seconds, you'll have the Baron spawning, and there will still be super minions that have thousands of health and tons of damage that really do require a champion to attend to them. Meaning, when that Baron spawns, you're going to have to be very careful as a Pioneers not to have something like that happen to you as Nami just gets deleted. The Baron is on the table in 10 seconds.
Yeah, and a lot of good vision established by the Green Knights on this topside jungle in order to start just setting up for this Baron. They're probably going to be able to take it if they want to at the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, they might even have the damage to do it. We already have a crit chance item completed on top of the Essence Reaver with a pickaxe to boot on this 4-0-3 Xayah. We saw how much damage Xayah can do in our previous match here on the stream. And a 4-0-3 ADA for both the mid and AD carry for Green Knights means they can really do just about anything they desire.
Yeah. And it basically looks like the Green Knights have an item advantage across all of their laners. The Fiora, the Orianna, the Xayah, all have such a substantial advantage over the Pioneers here. I wonder what the Pioneers need to do to get back into this game.
Really, their only options are to try and group and expect an engage coming out here from Green Knights and play around that expectation, knowing that Vi is going to come in. If they can all flash away from an Orianna ultimate together, even if it's not like a synchronized, oh, let's all flash away. If they can at least expect that spell to come through and not lose a member just to an engage, then they might be able to turn things around underneath the turret. Riven, though, stuck in that top lane, and Umbrisk not even able to tank his own jungle, let alone a Tark at this point, and that spells trouble. As we got another turret on them, there's a flash engage, and there's this Nami actually just dying instantly. Assault and Battery comes down, there's the Tark ult coming through, means nobody's gonna even take damage from the turret. Flashing forward, there's this Xayah, one more auto attack will do it. That crit comes through, Xerath falls. This so much damage from the Fiora as well. Able to proc the last Vital to get that ultimate coming through, a little bit more healing. And there's super minions in this top lane. They might even be looking for an end here, as the Fiora is just too tanky. Even though she's got a Black Cleaver over there for Riven, there's the inhibitor turret falls nonetheless, and the inhibitor in the bottom lane is exposed. Nexus turret's falling. This has just been a shutout. 41,000 to 26,000, 14-0, 9 turrets to nothing. That's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to Green Knights versus Pioneer. A complete stomp.